Let's talk about the police as well, because we talk about two-tier care and two-tier care justice. Let's talk now to Mike Neville, retired Scotland Yard Detective Chief Inspector. Police failed to realise the significance of a series of events leading up to the summer riots, and there were gaps in intelligence linked to social media and the dark web. This is a report from His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary. How did the police forces deal with everything? Let's find out from Mike what he makes of it. Mike, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
Like many of these reports, we could have sort of said, well, I told you so, but what's actually in between the lines here? What are they really saying?
Well, it is an appalling response when you look at they're gathering these crime hate incidents and filling in silly forms like that, but seemingly not gathering good intelligence. It's readily apparent to most people there's a lot of dissatisfaction in the country regarding things like immigration and the way that matters are policed. Now, of course, when those Southport murders occurred, it was a terrible business. And it was readily apparent from all the stuff on social media that there was likely to be serious violence. And what I've seen before, when I dealt with the 2011 riots, I was in charge of all the identifications and the like on that what would happen there is that the police could have nipped it in the bud, really. But there was police commanders who were more concerned about overtime and cancelling officers' leave and bringing them in than there was with dealing the riots. And I've no doubts that sort of decision making took place, but it was obvious to all of us that something was to be done here. And they were saying, for example, there's a mobilisation plan. If it had been put in practice on a Friday, where lots of people at work, the admin staff in particular, who would call in the officers, that wasn't done, and it was done at the weekend where there was hardly anybody on.
Right.
So simple mistakes here led to an escalation of violence.
Well, it seems that they completely underestimated the feelings of the public, didn't they? I mean, in some parts of the report, they talk about how surprised they were that a lot of sort of what they called middle-class people with settled lives and, quite good jobs actually took part in it. Well, that tells you there's something wrong in the country, doesn't it? It tells you there's something wrong with the way the country's being run. If you're sort of, seeing ordinary people, as I would call them, getting roped into this kind of activity.
Yeah, well, from a wider perspective, I've always said it's a really dangerous time when ordinary people, as you say, are whispering in corners and don't feel that they can express their views for fear of being arrested. So I think that's a really terrible thing. But I think it really demonstrates, while the police are gathering, nonsensical information about somebody saying the dog barking and that's a racist incident, while they're wasting time on that, they're not gathering real community intelligence. We're told that they gather this non-crime hate incident stuff so they know what's going on, but it obviously doesn't give any indications of what's going on, and they would be better stopping that, having community police officers who spoke to the public and understood what they were feeling, and then they may well have a better idea of what may happen when major incidents occur.
Well, they might also want to make a suggestion to the government that one of the reasons why an awful lot of people feel disquiet in this country is because of the way that their country has been changed and is being altered, even as they watch it happening, because they're moving all of these people in. We're just talking about the waspy women there. We can't spend £10 billion because it'd be a drain on the taxpayer. Well, it's all right to spend £10 billion on a load of migrants coming here illegally on small boats and being put up in bloody hotels.
Yeah, people are very angry. And what we got at the time of Southport as well, we were told straight away that a social media post went out saying, it's basically a Muslim immigrant has come to this country on a boat and then brutally slaughtered these young girls. And what of course, though, we're told this was misinformation, but we were never told the information. The misinformation that was put out, of course, is that this is a young choir boy from Cardiff. And now we know it's a completely different situation. It would seem that this young man, we don't know fully, but it would seem he's been looking at Al-Qaeda Islamic documents. He was developing some ricin poison weapon. And how soon did the government and the police know that? They must have known that literally within hours. This is a boy who doesn't have multiple premises. He lives in a home with his parents. So,
well, he's up in court, I think, very, very shortly. So, I mean, we shouldn't go too far into that into the case, because obviously
it's more the spreading of the information, I would say, Mike.
No, of course.
When they knew something and they kept that quiet, and they accused everybody of misinformation, but no information came out, and things can be dealt with better if people are told the truth.
But wouldn't it be
and they
better
were
as
told
well,
the truth.
Mike, if the police made those kinds of suggestions to the politicians to say, look, you know, if you want us to police the streets, if you want us to make sure that we can contain these kinds of incidents, you need to operate in a different way. And that would be the usefulness of a report like this, if they could then advise the politicians in that way.
I agree, but the trouble is these days, Mike, is that the senior officers, the chief constables, the people who make this decision are in the same bag as the politicians who run the country. The establishment is run by very left-leaning liberal people who have a worldview which is completely at variance to what you would say are ordinary people. And so their decision-making process, they would think that the government were right to not...
It's madness. Absolute madness. Crazy. Mike, we've got to run because we're short of time, but thank you very much indeed. Mike Neville, retired Scotland Yard Detective Chief Inspector.